think we're in a moment where you and I are called to lead. Here's the thing about leadership, which I think most people misunderstand. It's the assumption that leadership is based on a position and the presumption that leadership requires power. But neither of those are true. What leadership actually requires is influence. No matter where you sit, whatever your vantage point, no matter how low or high in the mountain beds of opportunities, all of us have influence. And that's the question I want to ask you right now. How will you influence? By a show of hands, how many of us in the audience are sports fans? Okay, a bunch of us. I'm a huge sport fan, especially soccer. Big Arsenal fan. But the one sport that I just can't seem to get into is motorbike racing. Mostly because I just don't understand how you can go that fast on anything that doesn't have a seatbelt. It just makes no sense to me. So a few years ago, I was watching a series on motorbike racing. And they interviewed the top 4 in the world at the time. Marc Marquez, Valentino Rossi, Stacy Stoner, and Jorge Lorenzo. And they asked each of them a very simple question. What makes you the best? You see, you have to look at sports that are formulaic in their construct. But what I mean is all of us who are competing in the game have the exact same rules. Think of Formula One, for example. The reason it's called Formula One, it's because all the teams are given a formula. You can't just do whatever you want. Right? So they'll tell you the size of the car, the weight of the car. They'll tell you the composite material you can use to build the car. They'll even tell you the size of the tires you can ride on. They'll tell you the size of the engine, capacity or displacement. They're given the technology of the engine, naturally aspirated, turbocharged, or supercharged. And the drivers in their cars get given a medium height and medium weight. So at the beginning of the race, when you see all the cars lined up on the track, I want you to recognize something. Everyone has the same input. It's the same formula. If that's true, and it is, then explain to me why Lewis Hamilton is considered as the greatest driver of our generation. And explain to me why Michael Schumacher is probably the greatest driver of all time. And explain to me why Senna is the most revered driver ever to grace the tracks. The reason is there's some people where even though the rules and the construct are fixed, but their influence is disproportionate. And that's what leadership is. It's about influence. So they interviewed the doctor, Valentino Rossi, and they asked him, you know, the number 46, which is his number, by the way, the number 46 has become so iconic in the sport. What makes you the best? And listen to this, he says, in the Spanish GP, as an example, when they reach the corner, he will lift himself off the bike and he will lean until the bike is at a 60-degree angle. And his entire body weight is resting on one knee, which is on the floor. And with that being the case, he would then take his right hand and put it on the throttle and accelerate even further. To you and I, that makes no sense. Like, why would you accelerate when you're taking a corner on a bike at an angle? Well, if you think about it, it's actually very simple. Because the laws of physics say that when a bike takes a corner at an angle with the least amount of weight on the bike and you accelerate as you hit the apex of that corner. So what happens is you actually generate G-force in the opposite direction counter to the weight, and it will lift you up as you exit the corner. If you're wondering what G-force is, if you've ever been in a car that turns really, really fast, the force that acts on your body to move sideways, that's what that is. So basically, when they reach the corners, that's when they win the race. So they go faster in the corners, not slow. And that's what makes great leadership, because influence is about taking the corners as fast as you can. You and I are in a corner moment right now. Our whole world is resetting from a virus that completely demolished many population systems across the world. There's a surge of social movements all over the world. The right of people who've existed at the fringes of society for the past 100 years are now saying, we no longer want to sit on the margins. We want to be considered. Say whatever you will, but that's the statement. Many people are saying we no longer want to sit on the margin of the justice system. We want to be considered. What are you saying? And where are you? Influence is in the moment, which is the second point that I want to add. Leadership is about moments. And what makes great leaders is how they rise to moments of leadership. You see, you can't really lead until the moment of leadership arises. And the challenge with most of us is when that moment comes, we question, we doubt. And we say things like, oh no, why me? Why you? Why not you? We use that terrible statement, like, what about them? Why not so-and-so? Right? It's like that old Tibetan saying that has since been translated into English, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? You see, the moment of leadership is very critical. And where most people misunderstand or fail to realize is that the moment of leadership often goes to the people who don't have the power and don't have the position, but they exercise their influence. And that's the final point that I want to leave with us today, to be consistent in our resilience. Because it's easy to be liked when things are nice. It's easy to give an opinion when things are comfortable. But resilience, leadership, finding the moment, and taking corners, all those things require influence. So as I leave you today, I really want you to rethink for yourself, what do you want to stand for? And reframe for yourself what you want this moment to mean for you. Thank you very much.